Hello everyone, welcome to the next webinar in the series of the Geo for All webinar. And today we have the presentation by Sean Lynch, and he will tell us about his project on OpenLitterMap, a very interesting idea. And I have asked Sean to give us a little bit of his background on how he came to this project and how he used Phos4G to develop it. So thank you very much, Sean, for taking the time to do this presentation for us, and now you have control.
Hi, everyone. You can hear me okay?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. So my name's Sean Lynch. I'm the developer of OpenLitterMap.com, and this is a citizen science platform to enable anyone to collect data and map the spatial distribution of litter. And that accounts for most categories, and the categories are increasing all the time. Everything from cigarette butts, lighters, plastic bags, plastic bottles, soft drinks, you name it. You can take a photo of it and include it in the database, and it will be mapped for everyone to see. And all of the data is free to view by anyone and free to download by anyone. The platform itself is in its infancy, but it's improving, and you're welcome to contribute to its development. So I'm a geographer by training, and I'm a self-taught developer. When I study geography, you can see from my portfolio, I have 2 masters. My first master's is in GIS and remote sensing, and my second master's is in coastal and marine environments. And what I did is combine my geospatial analytics with my interdisciplinary skills in coastal and marine environments, and I wrote my second master's dissertation on the early stage of OpenLitterMap, which used Phos4G to facilitate litter mapping, which I'll get into shortly. So I've since been working on OpenLitterMap since my dissertation, and it's now evolved from just a single GIS interface into a dynamic web application. And I hope that if people contribute data to it, it will open up litter data, and it's made very easily accessible. And we'll be able to show you this shortly when we try to use the software. And all of the data, as I said, is free to download per city or country region. So if you'd like to contact me, please do. You can see my LinkedIn, and I have a Gmail account, and I'm also on the usual social media platforms at OpenLitterMap, or you can use the OpenLitterMap hashtag to find out what I'm doing on social media at the moment. So the reason I invented OpenLitterMap is because every year millions of tons of plastic and other waste makes its way into the oceans of our only habitable planet. And in order to combat this, I believe the most realistic and the most effective way of mitigating the increasing threats of plastic pollution is by opening up basic geospatial data and allowing geospatial analysts with the data to figure out how do we stop plastic reaching the ocean. And there's a lot of questions left to answer that I'll get into shortly, such as mitigating the paths from rivers to the ocean, or improving public service implementation like bin catchments, or improving the routes of workers and volunteers who go around picking up litter. So plastic pollution was first recognized to have global distribution in marine environment as early as the 1970s. Despite this, it has continued to rise at an unprecedented pace. And in a recent study in 2015, Jenna Jambak et al., who I quote heavily in my dissertation, noted that in 2010 alone, between 8 and 12 million metric tons of plastic made its way into the oceans. And this figure is expected to rise to up to 70 million tons of plastic entering the oceans globally every year by 2025, and that is assuming that current trends continue. So what I would like to see is an intervention and a reduction very soon in that number of plastic that is expected to enter the ocean. And I believe the most realistic way to do this is with storytelling maps, and by opening up basic geospatial data for researchers and policymakers and educators to use and to implement throughout their work and their study and their social media, etc. So you don't actually need OpenLitterMap to generate OpenLitterMaps. This is one of the first maps of litter that I've generated with Phosphor-G, and I use QGIS and the Photo2Shape plugin for QGIS, and this is just layered above the OpenStreetMap tiles. And you can see along the road, each photo is geotagged and given an individual point. And this litter data that anyone can collect, this is recorded with an iPhone, and I'll compare the Android versus the iPhone in the next slide. But you can see that you can get a continuous spread of data across hyperspatial resolution. So in 1 meter, you might get multiple points of photos. This is what I call hyperspatial resolution. And as well as that, each photo is individually time-stamped to the second. So you're also getting hypertemporal resolution. So combined, that's hyperspatiotemporal, which is a bit of a mouthful, so I prefer to call this hyperdata. So the data that citizen scientists can collect right now at the moment with very accessible smartphone technology really opens up litter mapping and allows us to crowdsource data across space and time anywhere on the globe. However, there are obstacles, such as the facilitation of crowdsourcing this data, the amount of data to collect, the variability in the data, and there's different questions related to ethics and how to use the data, etc. So you don't need OpenLitterMap to map litter, but I hope that you'll find that it makes it a bit easier and it makes it more fun. But it can be done with Phosphor-G, and I have to give Phosphor-G the credit for enabling me to do some of my first studies on litter, which enabled the development of OpenLitterMap.com, which we'll explore shortly. So in comparison with the Android, you can see that in blue we have an iPhone 5, and this is data I collected myself, that collects data, hyperdata across hyperspatial and temporal resolution, and you're getting each photo will more or less collect a different geo coordinate. However, in contrast, the Android, at least the Android phones that I've experimented with, and in this case I was using a Samsung Galaxy S5, has a restricted temporal revisit frequency. So what that means is that you might get 20 photos clustered in one location and they all have the exact same latitude and longitude, and after 5 or so minutes you might get another 20 or so photos with another exact same latitude and longitude. So this is worth noting if you're mapping something in hyperspatial resolution like litter. However, when you combine these and you do a more generalized spatial analysis, you can overcome these limitations at least somewhat. And here, this is one of my first spatial analysis of litter, just looking at smoking-related waste. And again, this is all done with Phosphor-G. I just hope that OpenLitterMap makes this process a bit easier, and it also allows the crowdsourcing of data by community volunteers anywhere on the planet. And what you can see very easily is it's a new tool to communicate plastic pollution. So in some of these 100-meter hexagonal grids, you get a count, a point and polygon analysis of the different type of waste that was smoking-related waste, in this case, that was collected within that 100-meter space. So when I say smoking-related waste, I'm referring to cigarette butts, lighters, etc., anything that has to do with smoking. And I think this is a much easier way to categorize litter rather than looking at individual items. I think it's much more beneficial to look at different categories of related waste, and this is how I've constructed OpenLitterMap, and we'll explore that in more detail shortly. So I've been working on this since my dissertation, and now this spatial analysis has been made online, and it's also been made dynamic. So you can visit any of the locations where users, citizen scientists, have contributed data, and it has the same feel of my dissertation. It has the same hexagonal grid weighted analysis with the different categories, etc., which we'll explore soon. So before I get into the software, I'd like to finish the intro presentation with one last slide, and just to mention that I am interested in doing research with this data, and you're welcome to do research with the data too. All of it's open and free to download, so if you'd like to do research on litter, be my guest. However, I am interested in doing a PhD on litter, and I would be interested in some paper collaborations if there are any researchers interested. I'm also available for more webinars and trainings or Q&As. If that's something anyone is interested in, please get in touch. I'm also looking for developers and other people who are interested in challenging not just plastic pollution, but more generally the Anthropocene with GI science. And you can expect many new improved platforms and also new implementations and new experiences with OpenLitterMap. So OpenLitterMap is in its infancy, and you can expect some updates. So that's it for my slides. I'd now like to show you OpenLitterMap, and we can go through a quick trial. So you can visit OpenLitterMap.com, and it's running on a HTTPS encrypted network. And I had a lot of the about section in the middle here, but today actually I moved this to its own category. And if you're curious to know about litter, you can visit the about section, and you can see that this is a pretty big problem. There are potentially trillions of plastic-tipped cigarette butts dropped globally every year. And the problem is not actually the plastic, but when a cigarette is smoked, those chemicals will accumulate in the butt. And when these are dropped in their trillions, well, you can do a simple experiment and take some smoked cigarette butts and pop them into a jar with some water, and you can see very quickly how that water quality degrades over time. And I think it's also very interesting to note that cigarette butts are designed to sink. You'll never see a cigarette butt floating in the river, because if you did, well, people might start getting out about them. As well as this, hundreds and thousands of tons of plastic quite elusively makes its way from land to sea every year. And actually the urban environment that we live on, walk on, and drive on is often typically punctured with holes or gutters or storm drains. And while this might serve the purpose of flood relief, it also doubles up and facilitates the illusion of what I call urban cleaning. So you might think the place is getting cleaner. However, litter may actually enter these pathways, and this is its source. It's one of its sources into waterways, where it eventually makes its final destination into the ocean, where it'll degrade indefinitely. And on its journey, a lot of these cigarette butts in particular will leach toxic chemicals into the environment, which are typically bioaccumulated by various plants and animals. And you can read into this in more detail if you like. So all of the data from OpenLitterMap.com is free to be viewed or downloaded by anyone. And if you visit Maps and Data, at the top here you get a global count. So we have 265 photos verified globally at the moment. And the photos have to pass verification, which is done either by the crowd or by an administrator to prove the photos and the contents are legitimate. Otherwise, these values won't update. And out of those 265 photos, we've got nearly 1,200 verified litter items from them. And once people submit data, OpenLitterMap is built to build itself dynamically. So when you submit data, I will take the latitude and longitude, the coordinates of an image, and then reverse geocode them into an address. And then I can use that information to say, well, what country was this in? And I can make, I can do analysis and figure out, or I can categorize the different categories of litter for each country and each location within the country. There's also a leaderboard. There's nothing for Australia at the moment. I might actually just search for Ireland, because I know that I've entered a lot of data for Ireland. So you can see in the litter category, there's 334 items of smoking-related waste that have been verified for Ireland at the moment, 237 food, etc., etc. As well as litter, there's also a leaderboard. And this is a competitive ranking system, which is based on a user's experience points, which you can gain from playing OpenLitterMap. So every time you submit an image, you'll be given 1 experience point. Every time that you add a litter item to an image, you'll be given an experience point, and you'll be given experience points by playing the OpenLitterMap game. Now, by default, when you add data, you're not going to appear here. because by default you are an anonymous user. However, if you visit your settings, you can toggle the anonymity of your name or your username, and if you choose for your name to go public, well then the next time your images are verified, you will appear in the leaderboard, and we can determine who, at least publicly, are the top 5 litter mappers in each location, by country or location within country. There's also time series data, and this chart will update itself dynamically. So as new values come in, this is automatically going to configure itself. So you can see we had a huge spike in data input for the month of April 2017, and over 195 images were verified for that month. And it's still early May, now the 12th of May, and we only have 21 images verified for May. But as the month continues and as more values come in, as I said, this will populate itself dynamically. We also have some metadata for each country, so you can see that, you know, out of the 250 images, most of them have come from Ireland, and we've got nearly 1,000 verified images or verified litter items from 11 contributors, and we're averaging 20 images per person and 87 items of litter per person. If I click into each country, I get a breakdown of the cities, the regions, and the municipality districts within each country, and I get the same information here, the litter categories, and you can actually toggle these. So if you want to look at the relationships between 2 or more different categories, you can do that. And there's also the leaderboard, the time series, and we also have a 4th value here, options. So you also have the ability to filter your data by time. So by moving the value of the slider, try and work that. It's not easy when there's not much data, but now things never work on live demos. Let me try another area. I know there's a lot of data in Cork. So if I move the time slider for Cork, I think it might be the actually the webinar software that I'm using, because this has never happened to me before. But if I visit Cork now on the URL, that's not working. It's meant to actually update itself. But it does work when you're not using webinar software. So what will happen is the data can be filtered by time. So here we go. The URL has been appended to with the minimum date, the maximum date, and also a hex grid in meters. So if you want to change this to 100 meters, you can just do that in the URL, and your spatial analysis will be done automatically through the URL bar. So I can bring this up to a maximum of 500 meters, and this will give you an indication, and you can look on the right-hand side to see how many items of litter have occurred within this 500 meter space. As well as that, you can toggle the different categories. So if you want to look at the relationship between smoking and coffee, well, there's not much data at the moment, but if you want to add in the data, then this decision-making tool is at your disposal. So there's a range of other categories, such as alcohol-related waste, food-related waste, etc. And this is at your disposal. All this data is free to view and download by anyone. And if you can use this data to educate people to better inform policy or service implementation, like bin catchments, etc., or enforce polluter pays principles or anything else, please do. That's the reason it's there. That information, all that data is at your disposal. So next I'll show you how to actually download some of the data and submit some of the data. So I can log in. And when you log in, you'll be brought to the submit area, and this also works on mobile. If you're on mobile, you just click here, and if you're on a laptop like me, you can just submit data like this. So I've got some test images here. So I can just grab a couple of images and drop them in, and these should all process now individually. Thankfully, I have a pretty quick internet connection, so this hopefully isn't going to take too long. No GPS in this one. You can see that, okay, I've done something wrong here. These, yeah, there's no GPS on these. That's okay. I have some other images, and that should work. Let me just do 2 or 3. So yeah, OpenLitterMap will not accept images that are not geotagged. Whatever way I imported these images earlier stripped the metadata from them, and so you can see that OpenLitterMap will only accept geotagged images. However, it did accept these 3 images which were geotagged, so these are now available on my profile. As you can see, once your photos have been uploaded, you may categorize them on your profile. So you can click here, or you can visit your profile from the drop-down menu up here. When you visit your profile, and this is unique to every user, similar to the country and the city, you'll be given a chart of the verified photos that you uploaded per month, and this again will populate itself dynamically, and you also get a count of the total amount of litter that you've categorized personally on this individual account. And there's also, it's gamified, so as you play OpenLitterMap and you gain experience points, you'll level up. So you can see that I'm currently at level 9 with 402 experience points, and I need 500 to reach the next level, and I'm 32% of the way there. And so by the time I reach 500, I'll be given a notification and I'll be upgraded into level 10. And there's also some awards, which I won't show you. You'll have the chance to explore them in your own time, and that's something that needs upgrades, so you can expect some upgrades in that. It's just text at the moment, but I will introduce graphics in the future. You can see here that I have 97 uploads remaining on this account. So I'll come back to that actually, and we'll actually categorize some images first. So this image is number 376 that is being submitted to OpenLitterMap, which I uploaded a couple of days ago. And I've got the coordinates for the image, which has been reverse geocoded into an address. And this item is actually not there at the moment. This is taken away, so I can change this to remaining as false. However, if it's still there, you can say that it's still remaining. But I actually cleaned up this letter. I did a beach clean over the weekend, so that's now been removed. And you can see that it was taken also with an iPhone 5. This information is also included when you download data, which we'll come to shortly. And this is, as you saw in the introductory slides, is a very good indication of the spatial accuracy of an image. And actually, recently I included a new category of coastal litter. This is one of the most recent upgrades to OpenLitterMap, and you can see that there's now a range of different coastal items that you can include in your litter mapping. So if you open the image, you'll be given it. If you open the image in a new window, it'll go to a full screen, and you can see that I have, well, 2 degraded bottle caps. So I think there's a degraded plastic bottle. So I don't have degraded plastic bottle caps yet. That's something I do need to add in. This is still in development, obviously, but it's working. But it needs a bit of work. So I have, whoops. I also have some rope. So there's 1, 2, 3. Let's say 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 bits of rope. So I think there's 3 medium and 3 small. So this over here on the right is the items that I've added in. So you can add in as much data as you want from as many different categories as you want. So I can add my 2 bottle tops here as well. And that should be it for now. So when you're fully satisfied that this image is done, and you can just click that out actually if you want to remove it. When you're fully satisfied that this image is done, you can submit it for verification. You'll get a notification saying thank you very much. The page will refresh, and you'll be brought to the next image. This image has 1 cigarette butt. So I can just add 1 cigarette butt, submit this for verification, and then it'll have to be verified by either the crowd or an administrator. This has 4 cigarette butts. So I can add in my data, submit it for verification. And this one has a bunch. I won't bother counting it now, but you get the idea. So once images have been submitted, the crowd have the ability to verify them as true or false. So you'll be able to see this image was uploaded by me because I have my credentials as public. And there should be 1 cigarette butt here which is correct, so I can say that's true. And then this image will increase in verification. Similarly, this has 4 cigarette butts which is true. And the crowd can push this all the way up to full verification. If that happens, the image will achieve stage 1 verification, and all of the maps, charts, etc. will update. However, as an administrator, I'm also looking at the data. I'm also fixing the data, and once an administrator can verify the data, then it'll achieve the more trusted stage 2 level of verification. And if you're interested in changing some of your details, you can do so in your settings. You may change your password, your name, you can delete your account, you can sign up for a paid subscription, which will increase your upload allowance. So on a free plan, you have the ability to upload 1 image per day, and this will increase in allowance as you gain experience points. So by the time you reach level 5, you can upload 2 images every day, and when you reach level 10, you can upload 3 images every day. However, if you would like to significantly increase your upload and contribute to the financial development of OpenLitterMap.com, well, for as little as 30 cents a day, or for a maximum of €1 a day for monthly subscription, I can afford to significantly increase your upload allowance, and you'll be allowed to upload up to 1,000 images per month. If you need to upload more than that, you can just give me a text, and maybe we can work something out. But 1,000 images is quite a lot of data. So what users can do, what I would recommend, is you can collect data in your own time. You can store that locally on your own external drive or your laptop or whatever. And then once a month, you can come around and you can pay for a professional subscription to OpenLitterMap, finance the development of OpenLitterMap.com, and then once a month just upload all of your data, and you can process that then in your own time. And finally on the settings, we have privacy. So you can see that my name and my username is currently public. However, if I want my name to be made anonymous and I just want to credit my username or organization, I can toggle that, and now only my username is public. Or similarly, if I change my name, well, currently my name is public, but I'm going to leave them both public for now. And one other point that I forgot to mention on one of the last updates, things are being updated all the time. If I visit an area, you can now see that each user is credited for each image that they upload. So you can see that Charles Cullen, the name here was made public, however their username was restricted. You can see that this user's, both of their credentials are restricted. And one more thing that I'd like to show, if I go to where I did my beach clean recently, as well as this, you can see that we now have, I'll just refresh the page, we now also have a coastal category for all of the marine litter enthusiasts. And you can see that OpenLitterMap will automatically populate and dynamically count the different types of related waste that occur in each space. And as well as this, we now have that coastal litter that was uploaded recently by me. And all of that information, lat long, etc., is at your disposal. I suppose finally, to wrap up, what OpenLitterMap can currently do, I'll go back to Ireland because we've got a lot of data there, is this download section. And if you want to download all of the data for an individual country, well, just press this one button and it's yours. So you can download everything as a comma separated value file. And this is ready to be imported into any GIS or R or your favorite software or your favorite problem-solving development environment. So you can see that each image here has reached the more trusted admin verified stage 2 level of verification. You've got the type or the model of the phone that contributed that image. You've got its geospatial coordinates, the country and the region within that country. It's already been reverse geocoded to an address. So this makes a lot of data on OpenStreetMap, where I'm getting these values from, very easily accessible. And what I hope will happen is that people will be able to use this information from OpenLitterMap.com and maybe improve it and feed that data back into OpenStreetMap. And as well as that, you've got all of this rich data now on litter that's just very easily accessible, and there's 60 plus different items, and this is increasing all the time. The litter that you see here is really a reflection of what I deal with personally, but as I gain more feedback, which is highly appreciated from the community, those categories will increase over time. So you can expect software developments and also categorical developments from OpenLitterMap. And if you can use this data for research or problem solving, to figure out new ways to stop plastic reaching the ocean, or to evaluate policy, to guide decision making, to improve implementation of any public services, please do. That's the reason I invented OpenLitterMap, and I invite any geospatial analysts out there to start clicking these buttons and downloading that data and helping us to solve these problems. So plastic pollution is set to rise dramatically, up to 70 million tons of plastic entering the ocean by 2025. And I really hope that OpenLitterMap will make litter mapping fun and accessible for citizen scientists. And it currently works anywhere on the globe. I haven't found any problems yet. If you do find any problems, please let me know, and I'd love to help try and solve them. So that's a quick recap of everything that OpenLitterMap can do at the moment.
Great, Sean. Thank you very much for that very interesting presentation. Now, you mentioned that you use OpenStreetMap as a base for the system. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, so I'm using OpenStreetMap for the tiles for all the maps. And as well as that, what I do is I take the coordinates from the image and I reverse geocode that, and I can use that to determine then where each image was taken. So it's much easier than determining where it is within a particular shapefile. I can just break those columns up, and it makes everything much easier. Then when I have that information, OpenLitterMap will figure out, is this a new location? And if it is, it will automatically populate itself based on those new values. And if the value already exists, well, then it'll just include that in the analysis, and it'll configure everything from the countries, the cities within those countries, even right up to the URL within each particular area. So yeah, OpenStreetMap there is the base map, and OpenLitterMap is just another layer on top of this, with, I suppose, a spatial analysis layer somewhere in the middle.
Excellent. Now, what recommendation would you have for the beginning developer, like you were probably a year ago or so? What tips can you give to a beginning developer to be able to do someday what you just did?
I suppose, yeah, first of all is don't give up. Every day, try and fix another little problem, try and solve another little bug. And most importantly, I think, is try and find someone in your position that also wants to learn how to code and to do the journey together. I wasn't that lucky and I had to teach myself, but OpenLitterMap is proof that it's not impossible. But definitely your life will be made much easier if you can have a code buddy or a friend, maybe a partner in your startup that wants to learn with you. And I think you'll be much more productive if you have someone to share those experiences and to help you solve those problems. But there will always be problems, but what I've found with coding is that if you can fix one problem, there isn't any other problems that you can solve. If you can come to terms with what's involved at the most basic level, doing the most basic problems, the more difficult ones are waiting to be solved. So keep going and keep at it and try and find a code buddy.
All right, perfect. And now in terms of where to start, of what to learn first, to be able to start developing things quickly, do you have any suggestions?
So I actually started off learning how to code with Xcode, which is Apple's development environment for iOS apps. And it's very easy to come to terms with the basics of how it works. But when you make an app, it also needs a back-end environment for the database and logging users in and out and processing data. So the app by itself is just a skeleton. So what I use, and I heavily recommend, is a PHP framework called Laravel. And this takes a lot of basic stuff like logging and logging out and forgot your password and all that stuff. And it makes it very, very easy and very accessible. And I don't really use GIS at the moment, even though that's what I'm trained in. I have a master's in GIS, but I can automate a lot of my geoprocessing tasks, like extracting lat long from an image and running reverse geocoding and running a spatial analysis. I'm doing all of this with PHP. So PHP and also JavaScript are two high-level programming languages. I don't think they're that difficult. And if you can get the basics down, all you have to do is keep learning and you'll be able to build a website. As well as Laravel, I'm also using Vue. I think this is the website. Yes, it is. So this makes everything dynamic in the screen, so the user will be able to see values update in real time on the browser on what we call the client side, whereas PHP as a backend, it's on the server side. But together, I think Laravel and Vue are a fantastic relationship, and these are some of the new tools that geospatial analysts should consider learning. They're not necessarily essential, but if you want to automate a lot of your stuff on the web, I think there are two frameworks that are very, very useful, and that's what I use.
Excellent. Now, in terms, what do you consider was the most challenging part of developing OpenLitterMap?
Sorry, my dog's getting anxious, but at the start was definitely the most difficult, just coming to terms with the basics of how to put together a web page. But when you break it down, you can inspect any website just by opening up your development tools. This is on mobile at the moment. If I can turn mobile off, well, you can see that at the top here, I've got a nav bar, which is split into two different columns. I've got a body, I've got a title, etc. But yeah, start at the top and think about what you need for a basic website, and it's like Lego. You just have to join everything together. So you can use, my website or any other website as a basic template, and after you learn the basics, it's just putting the pieces together. That's my experience anyway. And I only started teaching myself how to code less than 12 months ago. So I don't claim to be an expert, but I've certainly learned a lot. And I'm still learning. It doesn't stop here, OpenLitterMap has only been online for 1 month, and I'm already, finding bugs and room for improvements, and I've got new ideas coming on board. I can't do everything, but it would be great to have more friends who could code. So if there's others out there who want to, offer a helping hand or have ideas, or want to work on research or papers or anything like that, I'd absolutely love to hear from you. And I might put up my my intro slide again just before we close the presentation to share my email address.
Yes, please. I have a question here through my email. It says, can I use OpenStreetMap in Thailand?
Yes, you can. So OpenLitterMap will accept images from anywhere in the world. And once you drop your images into this little box, I will extract the coordinates and determine where that image was uploaded from, or where that image was taken. And what's also interesting about, let me just turn off my development tools. What's interesting is about OpenLitterMap is because I'm reverse geocoding from OpenStreetMap, well, you can see that each country will actually have its name populated within the mother tongue of that particular country. And also this is Israel within the Hebrew alphabet, or whatever alphabet is being used for that particular countries. We've got Austria and Ireland, Spain, Spanish obviously. So I'm assuming that if someone uploads data from Thailand, well then it will probably be translated in Thai. And I actually really like this feature, and I think it's something that I'm going to keep, because I think it carries some of that culture that's being slowly eroded with globalization and everything else that goes with it. So this is a feature of OpenLitterMap that I didn't expect, but I'm actually very happy with it. So if you can upload data from Thailand, it'd be great to see will it be maintained in the Thai language. This might introduce other conflicts of interest for other users in the future, but I think that those cultures are worth protecting. It's something we should be cherishing from each other,
Yeah, great point. Now, you said that the system has been up for only a month. How many contributors you have so far?
Yeah, so in the last month, we have 265 photos uploaded and nearly 1,200 verified litter items. There's been about 150 people registered, and I'd say probably 40 or 50 of those have actually submitted data. So I'm in the middle now of trying to track those other users who've expressed enough interest to make an account. And I've also got a following on Instagram. So this is my favorite social media platform. I don't need to open it now. The handle is OpenLitterMap. But I'm in touch with a lot of people on Instagram who tell me they've collected data. They just haven't had the time yet to upload it. So I think hopefully over the summer, people will have collected data, and then they'll have some time to process that. So yeah, we've got about 50 people after contributing at the moment. But like OpenStreetMap, OpenStreetMap was crowdsourced by, I believe, nearly 2 million volunteers, but less than 5% have actually done 90% of the work. So it'll be interesting to see, will OpenLitterMap have a similar paradigm? Will it be the smallest amount of contributors doing most of the work, or will there be a different scenario? But that, because it's so new, we don't know yet, and that makes me very curious and excited to know how is this going to play out. So I invite people to submit data and to crowdsource geospatial information. So hopefully we'll see not just a rise in citizen science productivity on OpenLitterMap, but also a dramatic decrease in the amount of plastic set to enter the oceans.
Yes, great. What do you consider is the greatest problem or challenge to increase the number of people contributing?
So at the moment, people that I've spoken with online expect a mobile app. And a mobile app might make it seem a bit fancier or maybe a bit easier to use, but it's not actually necessary. So I don't have a working mobile app. OpenLitterMap is web-based and it works in the browser on any device. So whether you're on a laptop, a smartphone, or a tablet, you can just visit openlittermap.com. You can submit data and process that from any platform, be it Android or iOS or another alternative. But I don't think people have realized this yet. I think the standard at the moment is a fully functional, very highly professionally built mobile application. And I think one of the problems that we have in the geospatial community, maybe the Phosphor-G community more so, is overcoming some of those challenges or limitations that our software has, and people expect a much higher degree of use, I think. But what I'd like to see is people overcoming those preconceptions and visiting the website and realizing that this actually works on any device. I don't need to download or maintain an app. I can just log in and out wherever I want, and it works cross-platform. So you can make an account on your laptop. It automatically translates to your iPhone. If you suddenly change to an Android, you just log on with the same account details, and I think that's actually very accessible. It's not actually that difficult to use yet. However, one of the problems that I have is I haven't developed the skills yet to make nice animated videos, and I think that's critical to bringing the masses in. At the moment, the people who use this are either litter enthusiasts or geospatial enthusiasts, and there's very few people on the outside of that. But I think with animation and nice videos, I think that makes it more appealing to larger volumes of people. So that's something I'm going to be investing in soon. And I think a mobile app is complementary, but it's not actually essential. And OpenLitterMap isn't even essential. You can do this with Phosphor-G if you want to, but I hope the OpenLitterMap experience will be more fun, and I think it's actually more productive. So I started off mapping litter with QGIS and a couple of plugins, but that process, and although I'm very grateful to the Phosphor-G community for putting that software out there and developing that, and we wouldn't have OpenLitterMap without Phosphor-G, let me be very clear about that. But I think when I process data now on OpenLitterMap, it's so much easier than using Excel and QGIS and merging tables. It's a seamless transition from submitting data to having it verified, and all of the maps and charts are built to update automatically. So I think when people see that it's actually not that difficult to use, I hope more people will use it. But I think we need an animated video at least to overcome that.
Yes, excellent. It will be very interesting to revisit and talk to you but in a year to see where things stand at that point. So at this point, we don't have any other questions on the email, but this will be posted in the Geo for All Webinars YouTube channel. And if you could please show us your entry slide so that people can see your point of contact so that they can reach out to you, that would be great. So here we have it again. You have there the email and all the points of contact. So we really appreciate your time, Sean. It's a very interesting project. We wish you well, and this is going to have hopefully a great impact on reducing litter pollution in the oceans.
Yeah, Raphael, thank you, and thank you to Geo for All, and thank you to OSGeo and everyone else for listening in and for facilitating the webinar. I really appreciate it, and I'm very excited to see how this will develop, particularly over the summer. You can expect some improvements, and if you'd like to revisit this at any time, I'd love to hear from you again, and hopefully we'll see a lot more data and a lot less plastic entering the ocean.
Perfect. Thank you, Sean.
Thank you, Raphael.
Okay. Bye-bye.